a keynote presentation that I've prepared, which I'll be sharing with you, and then opening up for Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions as I'm speaking, it might be a great idea to just have pen and paper beside you so that you can make a note and not forget them by the end of the presentation. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get started. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so heartened by that. I've been looking forward to this, and this is a response to an intuitive call to help the brothers. So I look forward to hearing your feedback. Oh, we've got a sister here. Hi, Rosa. Lovely. Okay. So that you can see my PowerPoint. We do that. Jen, would you like to just let everyone know about the tech aspects of muting and unmuting microphones and things?
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, I'm
This
Jen.
is Jen, everybody, trusty PA.
Hi. So at the bottom of the screen, bottom left, you should have a microphone button. If you click on that, that will mute or unmute. If we can just stay muted during the presentation, and then we'll have we can unmute the Q&A at the end. And there's also at the bottom of your screen a little chat button, which you can type questions in again when we get to the Q&A at the end of the webinar. I think that's probably it, Tanishka.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. You or maybe English is your second language and you feel a bit, unsure, then feel free to type. Either way, I'm happy for the interaction. All right, thanks so much, Jen. All right, so just sharing the screen now. Okay, so welcome. As the dawn is breaking, that's so appropriate since the men are governed by the sun. Welcome to the Personal Power webinar. I'm your host, Tanishka. So what we're going to cover in today's webinar, Disempowered. There's a kind of myth, if you will, that, men have all the power. And it may appear that way, but, I read a book 20 years ago called The Myth of Male Power, which really turned an internal light on for me as to how men had really not benefited from patriarchy, in terms of, the mortality rates sort of so much earlier than women, and that, men's health and well-being was really sounding the alarm. So we're going to look at 6 ways to tell if you're disempowered or empowered, how to amplify your personal power. So they're practical strategies and practices to awaken that inner, live your life's purpose and a life that's rich with meaning. Okay, so let's get started. Why so many men are disempowered. In our society, men are valued primarily for how much money and status they have. Now, the reason for that is our society, our modern culture is built on the values of the Roman Empire. Okay, so whilst Rome fell, those values were still in place. And those are, in ancient Rome, men were forced to swear their allegiance to the values of the empire, to serve the empire over their own heart. Okay, so they weren't following their own inner guidance, their own consciousness, their own conscience. So today, the legacy is we see many men feel like pawns to corporate empires, and they find themselves seeking status through wealth instead of seeking that which their inner self is guiding them to do on a path of personal fulfillment. And if we look at the fact that Rome fell due to its greed for status and wealth, we can see that despite history repeating, these values, it's a warning, they're not sustainable. They're not sustainable personally. You know, if we're trying to climb a corporate ladder or amass territory or, achieve, rather than follow the path that deeply resonates with our inner self, our soul, eventually, that the threshold of suffering is going to catch up with us because it's not lighting us up. So it's not giving us energy, it's draining us. In our relationships, not feeling fulfilled in the work, if our work doesn't have a purpose that aligns with our true values, it starts eroding the quality of our relationships if we're not happy. If we don't have a deep sense of self-respect based on knowing that what we're doing is really making a difference. And that really plays out globally as well. When the majority of men are not actioning that which is in their heart, we see a global, culture that is angry and depressed, and then that results in secondary social symptoms. So I'd like to just pose a quick question. What did you want to be when you were 4 years old? Now, I ask this because up until the age of 7, we are operating out of soul, which is the inner self. We don't worry about what other people think. We just do what it is that we feel like. When you were 4 years old, might have been an astronaut or a fireman. See if you can might have been a few different things you might have wanted to do. But it doesn't matter how silly it seems, but just it's symbolic. Okay. Most boys dream of, you see them down the street, the darlings wearing their capes, their Batman, and because they know use their energy, to use their light to serve the greater good, to make a difference. They know that intrinsically. You knew that intrinsically. So regardless of, background, culture, before society starts to overlay that, most boys dream of saving the world. So now, fast forward to when you left school and ask yourself what happened at that transition point. Did you pursue the path in your heart? Maybe you wanted to be a musician and you were discouraged. Maybe you wanted to go traveling and you weren't encouraged to do that. What was in your heart? What was it that you really, really wanted to do when you were leaving school? And did you follow that path? Or did you end up doing what you felt, what you thought, or what you were told was expected of you? Now, it's interesting that young men are most at risk of accidental death through reckless behaviour or through suicide. And I think we can tap it down to this crossroads right here, okay? The pressure that they feel to betray their own heart, to compromise their own truth, and start on a trajectory that is not in alignment with what it is they've come here to do. And that creates an internal conflict, an inner split, and a rebelliousness against society, not wanting to grow up, which is completely understandable. So if men aren't following their hearts end up sounding the alarm. For the last 15 years, heart disease has been the #1 global killer. The source is the World Health Organization. And it's interesting to note that in the daily solar cycle, so, with the sun rising and setting, between 11 and 1, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the time, the zenith of the masculine energy. You think about, it's when the sun is rising to midday, the time of the most light, the most solar energy. This is, in Chinese medicine, the time of heart qi, when the energy of our heart is being stimulated, flooded with energy. So if you are working in a job that your heart isn't in, then it's slowly killing you, yeah? So we see the stats, men are far more at risk of heart disorders, heart disease than women. And I, again, feel that it's because they're not doing work that is deeply fulfilling for their heart. In physical, the most dense part of ourselves, if we ignore the energetic, the mental, and the emotional dis-ease within our being, it then manifests physically. So we see male suicide at an all-time high right now. And similarly, many men are slowly killing themselves through destructive behavioral patterns. So, suppressing their dissatisfaction with the quality of their lives through numbing themselves so they don't have to feel that pain, whether it's creating a smoke screen with cigarettes, with marijuana, with alcohol. And I'd like to make the point that all of these things, the more toxic we become, we're not clear to what's upsetting us. We shadow feminine, okay, receptive. But if we give up, we go into the shadow feminine and we become passive. And if men stay up late at night, so in the feminine time, particularly towards midnight, which is the zenith of feminine energy, particularly if there's some weed, so marijuana, which is a feminine diva, and more prevalent as we move further into the Aquarian age. Being an air sign, people are, smoking their toxins rather than drinking. The last 2,000 years was a Piscean age, a water sign, so we were drinking our toxins more. But it's putting men more and more into passivity, okay? So they're not firing up, they're sleeping in during the dawn. They're missing that time of really amping up the masculine energy. So why is this all happening? This is lost. So he feels powerless and unable to really make a difference, not just in the world at large, but in his own life. Yeah, he can just feel like he's, going along with what's expected of him, often feeling more like a walking wallet, someone who's just there to, pay for everything. And this causes men to then disengage, to not be fully present, whether that's with their kids, with their partner. So you find your purpose by connecting with your inner power. Now, men are expected to focus on external power, but if you don't have inner power, then all of that is meaningless. You can have more external power than anybody. Inner power, you lack self-respect, and you can't enjoy what you have, what you possess. So men need to reclaim that beautiful hero, that belief in themselves to make a difference that they had innately when they were little boys. Instead of just living out the inner hero with the state of the world to galvanize as a force for change, that we see such a prevalence of superhero films, you know, all the Marvel franchise that, you know, are huge blockbusters. Here's my favourite, the latest Thor film, which was, you know, hilarious. And they're great. I'm not saying don't go and see them, but, you know, it's a flag. It's calling forth that inner hero, but we need to be living it as well, not just eating popcorn and watching actors play out the hero. So more about how to activate that inner hero later on. So let's look at 6 ways to tell if you're either disempowered or empowered. Number 1, from their inner self. So they disconnect from their feelings. They don't spend time just contemplating, journaling, sitting in their garden quietly, meditating, doing yoga to commune with the self, because, you know, going within is not what men are encouraged to do. Men are encouraged to always be productive. But also what underlies not spending time with one's inner self is often an underlying fear that their true self is unacceptable, is unlovable, is not enough. So unconsciously, a lot of men seek out constant distractions, okay? So in the form of always being busy, you know, working, often overworking, especially given that they're constantly told that their value is how much they earn. Inner self is neglected like a muscle. It remains underdeveloped and weak. So men feel weak internally. They're less resilient, for instance, if there's a relationship breakup. Yeah? And men tend to be more solitary, so they don't share their deepest, darkest feelings and thoughts with other men. You know, they keep it to a level of surface conversation, talking about the football, talking about the weather, talking about politics and what's in the news. So talking about it as women do. They remain weak internally and not emotionally strong, mentally resilient. So then the trust and belief in themselves is very tenuous. It doesn't take much for men to be easily discouraged. And this is why external influences, particularly if they come from who's in a position of external authority, can cause young men to disregard what they feel is expected of them. I think there's a motorbike about to start up in the background. Just wait for the next slide. Okay. Energy, connecting with themselves through journal writing, through to the bottle, to alcohol. We will turn to external forms of support if we don't have that internal scaffolding, that inner strength. Number 2, disempowered men do not invest time and energy in understanding why they do what they do. Okay, so this means if we're not understanding the cause and effect, that we will then act without thinking. And this creates tension and conflict in our relationships, but it also causes us to make the same repeated mistakes So it's really important we understand what motivates us so we can question it. And really question, is this working for me? The less we know ourselves, the less true power we possess. Empowered men know this. They know that knowledge is power, so they invest in their personal growth, in self-understanding, which is self-empowerment, inner power. Number 3, disempowered men means that they will go until they just power down and shut down and don't have any energy for anybody, anything. Okay, so this is why men 9, 10, 11 hours, 12 hours, they're not able to connect with their partner or their children. They just zone out in front of the idiot box or on the computer. So, this means that the quality of their human interactions really deteriorates. So, like a machine, they have 2 states: on, go, 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 or off, just completely emotionally unavailable, shut down because they're absolutely exhausted. An empowered man develops the ability to operate in the 3rd gear, and that is conscious reflection of complete burnout. Yeah, to develop will, who sits in the heart center. You need to log off. You need to stop work. You need to do something for yourself, whether that's go to the gym, whether that's, make sure that you've got the energy to prepare a nutritious meal for yourself, and maybe to sit at the magnetic. If we do that, we help expand our self-awareness and our thinking. Consciously reflect on our actions and develop self-awareness. So through sharing experiences. Now, this is something women do. Yeah, women will talk, whereas men are much more guarded because, there's a stronger sense of needing to keep problems to themselves for fear of being seen as weak or and to divulge what's really troubling them. And it's often through talking that, and by listening to others, that we develop more understanding. So this accelerates our wisdom. So by men being isolated, they're not getting that support and they're not accelerating their personal understanding. Number 4, disempowered men measure their self purely on their external performance. Okay, so that's, seeing their intrinsic self-worth linked. It's like, yes, well, I'm important. Whereas if I'm a garbage collector, if society doesn't view me as important, then I don't view myself. Really, I think in the world, job. So they're trying to prove to themselves their value unconsciously, or they become perfectionists, trying to, achieve superhuman feats in order to prove their worth to themselves, which may be unconsciously to their father or to a teacher that put them down, you know, different authority figures in her masculine out of her critical. And that's not to say that being well. So self-worth on external performance, they earn personal satisfaction. So they will pursue a career path that they think is going to earn them a lot of money, such as a doctor, a lawyer, and earns culture that's seen as more valuable than other professions. So this may be something that their parents put a lot of pressure on them to do so that, you know, they're being sensible, or so that they're making good of their private education and the money that was invested in them. But if any Dead Poets Society, that was a real wake-up call to the global masculine to not how tax that is expected of us because it's personal cost. So the other thing is how other people is unconsciously seeking approval from society, from his friends, from his father, from positions of authority, but from society at large. They'll look around and see, you know, what to become that. Personal disempowerment. If you are running these beliefs, you will then attract people who mirror them back. Everything is connected. Everything is holographic. Yeah, quantum science has, you know, proven this to be so. So if you think that your worth is based on what you do rather than who you are, you will attract to you people who also see you that way, that value you more for what you do, for how much you earn, and therefore what you can afford to buy, the level of lifestyle that they would like, and that want their friends to approve of you. So if you're surrounded by people like this, by partners, extremely happy, which will disempower you even further. If you are dependent on external circumstances, absolutely, you will feel insecure. The difference is an empowered man bases his self-worth purely on his inner view of himself. So his self-worth is based on his intrinsic value as a unique soul, unique. There is nobody who sees life as we do, who expresses themselves as we do. Yes, we all have a lot in common, but you are irreplaceable. So when you know this, when you really get this, your self-worth is unchanging. If you lose your job, you know that your worth is beyond any physical thing that you do. Yeah, that you are an eternal being, that you are pure consciousness having a human experience, and that is beyond measure. Yeah, money is a measure of energy, but your energy is that we don't reduce ourselves to what it is the 10% rational mind can compartment through the physical senses. We go well beyond that. Number 5, a disempowered man seeks to prove his worth if he doesn't understand his intrinsic worth. Whereas an empowered man seeks to inner character so that he of himself. So the qualities speaking of are things like acceptance of yourself first and foremost, because you can only accept others to the degree that you accept yourself. If you're judging and criticizing, you will unconsciously judge others. It's not that you're meaning to, it's that, we often criticize others as a way of distracting ourselves from the inner critic, to give ourselves a break. As well as we develop, those heart-centered archetypes of the inner mother and the inner father. If they're not there, we expect ourselves to be able to do things without making mistakes, without learning how to do them better. Wisdom, another trait which, again, we get through reflecting on our mistakes and learning, knowing an inevitable cyclic part of the process of life, of learning and growing. Kindness, and so many men don't exercise just simple kindness in relation to themselves. They're hard on themselves. And so this affects their ability to be kind with others, compassionate, to have deep empathy for one, comfortable in our human experience. Inner strength and emotional resilience, which I talked about earlier, self-understanding, and personal integrity. Now, what is personal integrity? It is the ability to act in accordance with what you know is right. That inner knowing that comes from attuning to our conscience, so that in a moment, if we witness an injustice, we don't go into over-analysis. Oh, what if I ran out into the road to save that child? I could be it. We act without thinking. Our inner knowing absolutely propels us forward. And if we're acting from that place, we're not disempowered by going into analysis and then paralysis, and then looking externally and going, what should I do? Looking to others for direction powers us. Okay. Number 6, a disempowered man fears that if he admits that he is wrong sometimes, or if he says, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, or if he admits he doesn't know the best choice to make, if he asks for direction, if a disempowered man, he's armored up like Darth Vader, trying to show that he's got it together, but underneath he's brittle, he's unsure. An empowered man knows the ability to acknowledge one's mistakes when one doesn't know, one's ignorance, and also one's weaknesses, knowing that we're all humanly flawed. It's part of the human experience. It's inevitable. That, being able to acknowledge ignorance, one's weaknesses, reflects maturity and humility. And those are qualities that people value. Women value. They are qualities that engender trust. So how do you... Number 1, regular basis. Courage to have this veneer of always knowing what to do, which means that they bull sometimes. And, you know, a man that is not living his truth, speaking his truth, is not in alignment with his personal pride. Not only that, if you practice speaking your truth on a regular basis, if someone puts you down, whether that's with deprecating humour, yeah, or to diminish you so that they can elevate their own self-importance because they feel threatened, or if they put someone else down in your presence, if you're witnessing that, if you regularly speak your truth when the stakes are high, you will speak your truth and you will not be intimidated by a bully, by somebody who tries to assert status over you, because you have self-governance, you have self-respect. Number 2, regularly connect with your inner feelings. They are your feedback system for life navigation. If you don't connect with your inner feelings, you override your feelings. You do what you think is expected of you, which is disempowering. It disassociates you from what you ensure that your inner values are reflected in your outer choices. So if you're doing a job for a corporation that is polluting the planet, that is eroding your sense of self, because you're actually contributing to the problem, not the institution. Yeah. So ensure that your inner values are reflected in your outer choices, and you will no longer be able to do a job that doesn't resonate in the core of your being as something worthwhile and worthy. We've just got a motorbike about to start up, so I'll just wait 2 secs. Thanks, lovely. It's okay. I'm sorry, I'm doing the webinar here. The co-working space was locked when I went there. Regularly review your choices, outcomes. I touched on this earlier. The masculine is the active polarity. So the feminine polarity, which is reflection, can feel a bit unnatural, but it's absolutely imperative to review Groundhog Day, repeating the same mistake, and each time the suffering increases, the loss of income increases, you know, because if we repeat the same mistake, the wake-up call gets bigger every time. So the more we make a regular time to review our choices and the outcomes of our choices, the more empowered we are, because we learn from our mistakes. If we don't reflect upon our choices, we blame others. And then we feel disempowered as a victim of circumstance. So we can feel, doesn't have my back, I'm not supported, nothing ever goes well for me, good things only happen to other people. And we get in this negative downward spiral. Number 5, acknowledge your weaknesses and your challenges. What is challenging you right now? Because when we acknowledge the truth of what is, we take back our power. It's like, yeah, I've got a problem. Houston, there's a problem. You know, some guys out in the middle of space, they're not like, dun, 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 I think I'll go play a game. No, they're dealing, they're responding, they're being responsible. They're responding to the problem. They're being heroic. So we need to acknowledge when there's a problem. We also need to acknowledge our weaknesses, you know, like a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths, the weaknesses, the threats, and the opportunities in a situation? We have to acknowledge the weaknesses in order to then accommodate them, to compensate for them, to respond to, okay, if I'm weak in this area, I need somebody to mentor me so that I can, or I need a team member who's good in the areas that I'm weak, okay? So we need to acknowledge our weaknesses. If we just stick our head in the sand, like this ostrich, when there's a problem, which men will do often, like I said, come home from work and just flick on the TV, yeah, numb themselves. But then the problem doesn't go away, yeah, and in more and more. So we become more and more unavailable to ourselves. So the first step in taking back your power is acknowledging problems so you can take right action. That's conscious action. That's having thought about what are the options available to me, what sits within me as the path of most self-action. This is what grows trust in ourselves and self-respect. And then when we embody that, others trust and respect us because they trust that we're coming from a place of personal integrity, that we're thinking about what we're doing. With karma, you know, it's in every philosophical tradition, but it's about us putting it into action, okay? Not just, you know, reading a book by the Dalai Lama, but actually, you know, in our daily practice, highest integrity. Is this the most self-honouring choice in this moment? And who really do see you, they see the potential, they see that you are striving to do your best with what's available in any situation, and they believe in you. So where do we get access to these kinds of men? I'll speak about that a bit later on. What's so wonderful about having the support of Brotherhood, and that's men of all different generations, all different walks of life, who relate to you not as a potential threat or a competitor, but as somebody who's on the path walking beside them, okay? When you have that kind of support, when you lose self-belief, when you doubt yourself, when you falter, when your inner light shrinks, they will remind you, yeah, you've got this, you can do this, don't play small, don't self-sabotage. I'll just, excuse me one moment. Do you mind maybe doing the cleaning after the webinar? Thank you, blessings. For those joining later, I apologise. I'm just doing this from my apartment in Bali because the co-working space that I'd booked was locked despite booking it for this webinar this morning. So yeah, we're just dealing with a few chaotic, unexpected things as life presents us with. But it's not a reason to give up. It's just a reason to adapt. So when we have others to hold us accountable to our commitment to ourselves, to our commitment to fulfill our inner potential, we increase the chances for success, personal success, as well as success out in the world. This means that in order to have that level of support, we have to risk opening up. We have to risk sharing our problems, sharing our challenges, sharing what we see as our personal weaknesses. And that means being seen transparently in our vulnerability. And that takes real courage, especially for men who are conditioned to think that is a sign of weakness. It's the opposite. Yeah, it's like we're living in Oppositville. Everything that we've been conditioned to believe is true is actually not. It's the opposite. And to keep trying to adhere to those beliefs is more and more eroding of your self-confidence. So if you want real courage, if you want to man up, the irony is you need to open up and admit to yourself, to others, where you feel weak. So I don't know if you've recognized a pattern so far. To build our personal power, we must focus on the inner self, okay? That is our feminine side. So there's an irony in that, you know, which I'll get to. A lot of men associate the feminine with being passive or being weak. A lot of women associate the feminine with being passive and weak. I know I did until I was 26 and I was initiated into ancient women's wisdom traditions, and for the first time I saw, oh, there's power in the feminine. But it wasn't power that I had ever been introduced to. So, this is about reframing how we perceive the feminine in ourselves, in other men, in women, in the collective. So disempowered men think being masculine is simply the opposite to being feminine. So they disown their feminine qualities, their feminine side. Just going to take a quick sip of my water. And they'll do that by acting tough, by armoring up psychically, or by trying to assert status, dominance over others to prove how powerful they are. So this actually just telegraphs that inside they're feeling threatened, like they need to compensate. So let me explain the difference between a knight and a king. A knight being a young man, an immature man, and a king being a man who is mature. So a knight, a young man, is often afraid of being seen as feminine, so he tries to prove externally how masculine he is by armoring up and acting tough. For instance, by showing how much power he has to destroy, to compensate for his unacknowledged fear of being destroyed, or by proving his external strength to compensate for his lack of inner strength, or by driving big toys with external horsepower like large cars, trucks, big motorbikes, boats, or fantasizing about dominating others to feel virile and powerful, or by boasting a big male appendage or impressing others with a big bank account. It's all for show, kind of like a scared pufferfish that makes itself much bigger in order to intimidate perceived enemies or impress potential conquests or even, other men. Whereas a king is a man who has willingly faced the dragon and survived. What do I mean by that? A king is a man who has been to the bottom of his well, who has faced the dragon, which is his deepest fears, his deepest self-doubts. Consciously, he hasn't run away from them. He's willingly taken that feminine journey within, into the darkness within, into his shadow sides, into the shadowlands. He has willingly felt his grief, his despair, his shame, his self-judgment. He has in himself. This is why in ancient times, the priestess who initiated men, who helped them to see and face and accept their dark side, was love. And why those who had been initiated of the dragon, we hear about Uther Pendragon, who was King Arthur, and the Welsh dragon on the dragon flag. These were the Grail Knights. It was said if a man had not sought the dragon, he was not a true nobleman. He was not fit to marry a queen or a noblewoman, a woman of noble birth. He hadn't proven that he was truly noble of heart, a brave heart, lion-hearted. So we have lost the quest in our modern culture because Rome outlawed feminine wisdom teachings and practices, because they didn't want the wise feminine mystics initiating men into their power. They wanted men who followed, men who would take orders. And this is how we restore the power of the masculine, by midwifing them spiritually as, female shamans, and initiating them into looking at their dark side, looking at their dark feminine, so that they can embrace it and become whole. A man who doesn't seek to integrate his disowned aspects will remain disempowered. So, to understand and embrace your feminine side, it's inevitable that you need feminine guidance. Here we see, in Peter Pan, the boy who didn't want to grow up, Wendy is stitching on his shadow. Not because she wants to humiliate him, because she wants to help him become whole. She understands that he needs to see his shadow if he's going to take responsibility for it. Our shadow just being the parts of ourselves that aren't acknowledged. And there can be real gold in the shadow. Yeah, our gifts are in there. So there's a huge payoff for opening up Pandora's box and going in and having a look at the things we're afraid to face in ourselves. And if we do that, here we see the Hindu god Shiva, and he is both feminine and masculine, light and dark. This is the path to become one who feels godly, one who accepts he is both divine and humanly flawed, one who feels that he possesses his own self-governance, his own sacred and sovereign kingship. Without this feminine guidance, many men remain internally lost boys. So their lives lack meaning, purpose, and direction. We saw this in The Lion King. Without being initiated into the circle of life, the cyclic wisdom of the feminine, he's off singing Hakuna Matata and just, blowing off his potential, avoiding his responsibility, his true destiny. And this is why questing heroes were once mentored through their inner lessons by wise women who helped them develop their strengths. Now, I referred to Thor earlier. In Norse mythology, when Thor and the other Norse heroes descended down to the underworld, which is that inner place of despair, of depression, of doubting oneself, it was the wise woman called Hel, spelt H-E-L, that assisted those heroes to find the path of illumination and find their way out of the darkness, out of the underworld, and continue with their quest back to the everyday world and serve the greater good. Now, that mythology has been distorted. The name Hell was taken and appropriated to be a place where if you went there, you never returned. So no wonder men fear going within, feeling their darker thoughts and emotions. They think it's a sign that they're mentally ill and they're never ever going to return. So they avoid it at all costs. But the cyclic mysteries of the feminine teach men that it is inevitable and cyclic that we return to the dark with the natural cycles. So during autumn and winter, it's inevitable that you will return to the dark. But it's through feminine guidance that you learn how to integrate and deepen your wiser, a man for all seasons, rather than somebody who, like a lot of men that I meet here in Bali, particularly older men, that avoid winter. Okay, so they avoid developing their wisdom because they're always just chasing the sun. So they're not balanced, they're not. So do this. They don't embrace their cyclic nature, their inner feminine, so that they're not going within, learning, reflecting, developing their wisdom. They unconsciously destroy what they create. They self-sabotage, or they unconsciously destroy what others have created. They'll destroy their partnerships. They'll destroy their relationships with their children. You can see why I'm so passionate about reaching so many men with this message and serving as a midwife. So that's why I've been guided. You know, I've taught women's mysteries for 22 years now. I've developed a depth of understanding into the human psyche and into how to journey with the natural cycles. And I'll be 48 this year. So, you know, I'm coming into my wise woman cycle. And in the Native American tradition, the wise women could touch every member of the tribe. You know, they weren't just seen as a sort of sexual conquest. You know, younger men would listen to them, listen to their wisdom. And so I recognize that as I'm stepping into that in my chronological cycle, it's time for me to use them to not just serve women, but to serve men in that capacity, to awaken the hero in them by assisting them to reclaim their personal power. Because the world needs you, yeah, more than ever before, okay? There was a call out that happened on the inner planes, and you all responded to come and incarnate to Earth, because at this time we are in a huge transition. We will overcome the challenges, but we need everybody on board. We need everybody offering their piece of the jigsaw piece in order to reweave a new healthy culture that is sustainable, that is in alignment with the natural cosmic forces, the natural cycles, where everybody is honoured and valued as a sacred cyclic being, not as a machine, not as somebody who's just here to make money. So yes, it's understandable men resist the inner spiral to integrate their feminine side, because, as I said earlier, the masculine polarity spirals outward. It's active. It wants to be out, shining in the world. So this is why men feel powerful when they're outwardly productive, when they can see physical results. And yes, I've used the Bitcoin graph here, because every second brother I see with a laptop open here in Bali is trying to make money on cryptocurrencies. And, you know, that's neither good nor bad, but you can feel the pressure that they're feeling. I've got to make money. I've got to make money. And the irony is it's only by taking time to spiral inwards that your outer spirals will be supported and sustained by somebody who has a center. Yeah, if we don't know who we are, our arrows don't shoot straight. Yeah, we can't choose a direction that is coming from the depth of our knowing of who we are and what we're here to do. So our life isn't balanced and harmonious. And as I said before, if we're taking action without equal reflection, this results in costly mistakes through unconscious choices. So I've created a structure to support you to align with the natural cycles, to build your inner power step by step. And I'd love to share it with you. So, you know, this is not just a sell job. If I thought that investing my time and energy in men was going to be, you know, a great fiscal return, I wouldn't do it. Okay, you are very special men, the men that have responded to this call. Because so many unconscious men are just, they don't want to know. Yeah, they're so in distraction that they wouldn't even come to a webinar. So I'm very grateful that you're here, and I'd be grateful if you'd allow me to share this with you. Okay, what is unique about this program is that it aligns with the solar cycle. So yes, there are other programs out there for men, which is great. There are brothers that are stepping up going, right, we need to empower the men, and I'm all for it, yeah? Investigate them. But what is unique about this online training program that I've developed for men is that it has the feminine wisdom behind it, and I spoke earlier about what gifts to men, but it aligns you with the solar cycle. Now, the solar energy is what governs the masculine. So, you know, the sun, when we align with the solar wheel, with the solar cycle, we understand the effect that it's having on us, you literally are amplifying your power source as men. You will feel all the positive masculine traits like courage, optimism. You'll be empowered to take action because you feel motivated. So it's so important that you align and understand the solar wheel and the effect that it's having on you. So that's what this provides. How? Well, the sun moves through each of the 12 signs, the zodiac signs. And as it does so, it literally challenges us to master the lesson of each sign. So when we understand that, it's like having a map. Okay, you wouldn't go out fishing without checking the tides, without checking, you know, the weather conditions. Well, so too, it's crazy to not live in alignment with the stars. You know, the ancients understood this. The word disaster means disaster, to go against the stars. So when we understand, okay, these are the lessons. This is how you're going to be challenged this month. Yeah, the sun, the solar logos, the energy of the sacred masculine is going to challenge you in a very specific way this month. When you understand what that is, it's much easier to successfully master the challenge. If you don't have the map, pretty hard. So the ancients called this path of initiation the 12 trials of Hercules. Here we can see from the Disney film, which is a great watch. It's funny, it's a musical. It doesn't, unfortunately, give you the nature of those 12 trials, but the theme of the film is he's a hero who doesn't know his own strength, and so unconsciously he destroys with his active male power because he hasn't learned how to harness it, how to use it in a really productive way. So by understanding these 12 trials, step by step, you build your power, your inner self-belief, but also you understand how to use your power with right action. So, as I said, by identifying and understanding the lessons, you can master them and you become more strong, more self-aware. It's like, you know, by carrying the sort of the calf on his shoulders, as the calf grew, his strength grew. And it's the same, you know, we have to develop step by step, and that's why there's 12 steps to this program. It's not overnight. So each month I give you a map of the terrain ahead and the insight to illuminate your trials as a sacred sun warrior. Here we have the ancient sun god Lu. There was a festival to him every year after late summer to honour the sun, to honour the energy of the sacred masculine. So this then gives you the tools to navigate your way to personal victory in your life. So what this online course includes, it's called Awaken the Hero Within. Each month you'll get access to an online folder, and it has a monthly podcast in it. So an audio file, an MP3 that you can listen to wherever and whenever, to coach you on how to master that monthly challenge as you journey around the 12 sun signs with the sun. Okay, so what was I going to say about that? I'm totally blanked. Anyway, I'll keep trucking on. You also get a monthly video tutorial to identify the weaknesses that are going to be illuminated that month by the sun moving through that sign, and the strengths that will also be illuminated, so you understand how to harness those strengths to temper the weaknesses. Okay, it's all about balance. So the irony is, people without an understanding of the cycles, they think, oh, well, you know, I'm not into all that stuff. I don't believe in horoscopes, therefore it doesn't have any effect on me. Well, you know, that's like saying winter doesn't have any effect on me and going out wearing a Speedo, wearing your swimsuit. You know, the natural cycles do have an effect on us. It's just that we haven't realized the degree to which they affect our psyche, our emotions, our energy levels, because we've only operated on a physical playing field. So when we understand that the sun moving through those signs is bringing out the weaknesses and the strengths with us of every sign, we can use that to our advantage. This is why the ancient kings always had an astrologer that they would consult with before any sort of, you know, war campaign or building a new city, or they would look to the natural cycles and go, okay, when is the optimal time to do it? You also get 12 monthly self-review questionnaires. So again, this is done in alignment with moving around the zodiac to deepen your self-understanding, to develop your personal power. And I've deliberately created these resources in 3 different formats to cater to all different learning styles. Some are auditory learners, others are visual, others are kinesthetic, i.e. through experience. So that way everybody's catered for. You also get this bonus, a video tutorial explaining the 12 stages of the hero's journey. The hero's journey is used in every Hollywood blockbuster film. It's, if you will, the stages of the making of a hero. And Joseph Campbell was a brilliant man who lectured in this. He's no longer with us. But one of his pupils was George Lucas, and he based Star Wars on the understanding of the hero's journey. So I will be explaining how this hero's journey plays out in your life so that you can awaken that heroic archetype within yourself. Within that story, if you will, I will explain the greatest test that you need to overcome. And here we see Hercules in his cave, in his man cave, and he's, in this tarot deck, wrestling with the Nemean lion. But in the Rider-Waite tarot deck, shows the temperance angel doling the lion into submission. And I'm reminded of that wonderful film, How to Tame Your Dragon, a great kids film if you haven't seen it. And it's true that it's not about wrestling our ego into submission. It's about understanding our child self, our wounded self, our wounded feminine, and healing, tempering our dark side, our Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde nature, with self-love, self-understanding, wisdom, compassion, all those wonderful noble traits I spoke about earlier. And I might add, I read tarot professionally for 12 years. So I have a deep understanding of those 12 stages of the hero's journey and have done many private sessions with men, prior to this work. So you get this other bonus. I'm just going to take a sip of water. It's an MP3 audio practice to harness that solar logos, that essence of the sacred masculine, by attuning to the sun. Now, this is something you might want to do as a daily practice, whether that's while you're commuting to work on the train or doing it when you get up each morning, but it would be ideal to do at dawn. You don't have to do it every day. Even if you did it once a month, that would be a huge asset to growing your inner self-worth, your inner sun. So some of the benefits that you will gain from this, I do hope that motorbike moves. Some of the benefits that you will gain from this journey around the 12 signs to awaken the hero within is increased self-awareness and personal empowerment, self-understanding and self-acceptance, courage, motivation and optimism for the future, inspiration to dream big and achieve your goals. Interesting, the horsepower's amping up. The ability to identify self-sabotaging patterns and transcend them rather than repeat them. Insight to be successful in every area, because true success is not somebody who has a lot of money and balance in your life in all areas. And strategies to awaken your true life purpose. So I ask, isn't that worth 90 minutes of your time once a month? That's how much time I estimate it will take you to do the practices involved in each monthly module. So that's 90 minutes out of your month. And we do this practice just prior to the sun moving into the new sign each month. So I will give you the dates, and reminders of, when that is, but it will mean giving yourself 90 minutes. So it might be one night a month that you set aside to do this practice, to become a man who is centered in his inner power and is self-governing. So the price of the course, I've tried to keep this as accessible as possible. It's $99. Like, that is really me dishonoring myself. I should be charging a lot more, but I need to reach as many men as possible. So that's how much it costs. And there's even an option to pay in monthly installments. You'll save $20 if you pay up front. But yeah, really, it's undervaluing the value of this in a huge way. But I just, I want to inspire you not to have any obstacles at all to saying yes to this opportunity. So who is this course ideal for? Any man who wants healing and empowerment. Now, there's a second option for those of you who feel called to support other men through this process, to awaken your power as a leader. So I would encourage all of you to take up that personal journey, that self-practice. But if you also feel called to support other men, then please stay with me. The second course online training that I offer is a Brotherhood Lodge facilitator training course. What does that mean? It means holding a space once a month for men to come together in a spirit of brotherhood. So no competition, no comparison, simply to be there as witnesses for each other, to be there as allies for one another. And you will find in the hero's journey, that is the third stage. Who is your ally? Who is your foe? It's important to have allies on the path. Now, in the online course, you don't have allies. So it's really important to consider, hey, maybe I could just have a Brotherhood Lodge with some of the guys that I know. Maybe I could invite them and we could meet up once a month. So this is what you will learn in this training, how to facilitate those gatherings so that once a month you check in with each other as to how you're going on your hero's journey. Yeah, it's a 12-step program. So, just like the success with all the, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, the success is about connection. It's about supporting each other on the journey, supporting each other by hearing each other speak about how you're going with that. So, to journey around the solar cycle with your brothers is a huge gift you can give to yourself. I've sat in circle with women for the last 20 odd years. And it's how I got through my trials. You know, as a sole parent, I was homeless. I mean, I had some huge trials to deal with, but it was the support of my sisters meeting once a month that got me through it, and that helped me to find my inner strength and to become bigger with every challenge that I surpassed. So step by step, I will teach you everything you need to know to start a hero's journey group. So this course is ideal for guys that are already running men's circles to continue their professional development, to learn more. I've seen a lot of guys running circles that are actually at full moon or new moon. You know, it's like they've seen, oh, well, the women are meeting at new moon. And so they're not aligning with the solar masculine energy. So, you know, for guys that are running circles and don't know about that, I invite you to come and learn. For those that are working as transpersonal counsellors, psychotherapists, any sort of holistic counsellor or therapist, add groups to your private sessions. For those that are ready, you know, there's 3 stages of healing, and, you know, it can be very intimidating for a man to come and share his feelings in a group. He may need to do private sessions first, yeah, to just have one person see him in his vulnerability and in his shame before he can then expose that to a group. That's the first stage of the healing journey. But for those that then have done some private sessions, the next stage of healing and empowerment is group work, is to be seen by their kin, by others. And then we see, oh, I'm not the only one, I'm not alone. And that actually helps to heal our shame. And we see our journey, our weaknesses, our deepest dreams mirrored in our brothers from all cultures, all ages, all, you know, social stratas. And that develops camaraderie. It develops compassion for each other and for ourselves. We see that we're all mirrors of each other. And this is what develops true brotherhood of man. You know, John Lennon saying about brotherhood of man. It's not just some idealistic concept. It's a practice that we develop by acting in a way that's brotherly, by showing up and being supportive to one another as men. So, and I think this is why men love watching, you know, football and things, to see men hug each other at the end of the game, to have, you know, fought beside each other. I mean, if you Google brotherhood, you only see images of war. So that's the only place that men show true brotherly love towards each other when the stakes are that high. We need it in our daily life for men to be well on all levels. So you think about, you know, great sacred kings of the past, such as King Arthur or Yeshua, as he was known before the Romans renamed him, or no, the Greeks renamed him Jesus. They had a brotherhood circle, both of them. They knew they couldn't lead and truly live their great destiny without the support of good men around them. So other men may feel called to do this training because they see men at risk, whether that's men that are ending up in, you know, the penitentiary system because, you know, they're doing drugs, because they're escaping, because they feel so much shame about their life, or men that are caught in a cycle of domestic violence because they lack deep inner personal power. So, you know, it might be creating circles for men on university campuses, or for men in drug rehab, to awaken the hero within. So there's many applications for this training. You might want to use it to run transformational retreats for men. You know, maybe a weekend retreat 12 times a year as a course. So you see, you know, the applications for this are huge and are needed. And this will grow, yeah? I know in my heart of hearts, just as we've seen the rise of the feminine, the rise of the conscious man is starting. So to be on the crest of the wave of this could be you know, your career path with a heart. Or you might want to create, you know, a brotherhood circle for your inner circle of male friends. Yeah, to do it maybe for 12 months, to go around the circle within will give you the confidence to then go, yeah, I could lead this in my community. I could run public circles, or I could run retreats or workshops for men. But to do it just for yourself first with your inner circle is a great place to start. So this is what we cover in the training. There's 6 modules. You don't have to do it in 6 weeks. You can do it in whatever time frame works for you. So in the week 1 module, we cover the tradition of men's circles, what is a brotherhood lodge, why it's time for men to gather, the new mythology that's emerging for men. So I speak about the new archetypes that are emerging for men, as well as how we're seeing that reflected in films like Star Wars. Attuning to the solar cycle, men's power source, I explain that in more detail, and the optimal time to schedule men's events so that you're harnessing that solar power. Week 2, we look at foundations for facilitation, so understanding the effect that the seasons have on the male psyche and how to maintain your mental well-being in those darker times. Authentic self-expression, honouring the need for inner cave time, debriefing from holding a space for men, how to set boundaries without, you know, being power over, how to share power is a big thing that you learn, you know, by passing that talking stick around. Men unconsciously pass a bong around if they don't get positive role models and positive social structures like this. They create destructive ones. So I speak about that in this course. How to clear and maintain energetic space, and your own personal preparation before holding.
Not too sure if we've lost Tanishka there. We'll give her a second and see if she's able to jump back in.
I want to run a circle specifically for teenage boys or new dads. These are men that are in transition and really need the support, or for wisdom keepers, for men who, you know, post-retirement are really at risk if they're valuing themselves purely by what they do. But I also cover how to welcome boys to the lodge and just, you know, consider what your life would have been like if you had that support. We are restoring this legacy, which is so needed to build strong men, strong families, strong relationships, strong communities. And also how to establish a community lodge. So, you know, these practices are the heart of a community. You know, a community is not just made up of people living together. It's people communing with themselves, with each other, with the natural cycles. So in week 6, the last module, how to start your men's circle. So we look at all the practical logistics, choosing a venue, public versus private, promoting your event, bookings, logistics, support roles, the duties of support people, personal presentation, demeanor, creating sacred space. You know, this is all the nuts and bolts, okay? So, you know, you can see that we start from why this is so important to giving you a template that works, a structure to follow, and then, you know, how to fly, how to, you know, start your own men's circle. So it's a comprehensive training course. Even though it's online, there's 35 hours of training materials, but it's not overwhelming because they're in bite-sized chunks. Like the videos are 10 minutes each. So you might want to watch one video a night, you know. And it's basically me offering up 20 years as a group facilitator and everything that I've learned in that. So you'll really accelerate, your understanding of how to, rather than, I mean, anyone can just go, yeah, we're going to take it in turns to speak, but there's so much to learn that if you can learn 20 years worth in a 6-week course, you'll be well ahead. So what it includes is there are 20 video tutorials. As you can see, this one's 10 minutes 18. So it's me teaching like this. There's 50 magazine style articles. So you can keep all of these, online and either download them to your hard drive or just log on because you have lifetime access to the materials on the host platform. Or you might want to print them out to compile a facilitator training manual, in a ring binder. There's 6 PowerPoint presentations which offer step-by-step detailed explanations. So this one is on promoting your Brotherhood Lodge circles.
Sorry, Tanishka.
There's MP3 guided meditation. Yeah, go for it.
I don't think we're seeing your screen at the moment.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Okay, share screen. Thanks, Jen. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I'll just take it back to that scene. There's an example of one of the video tutorials. They're the magazine style. And there's an example of one of the PowerPoints. So you'll also get guided meditations. So I encourage you to get offline as much as possible. You can do these relaxing, as you can see, outside under a tree, in bed, in bath, on the couch. But yeah, this is meant to be a joyful learning experience, something that's a pleasure to learn. And for those that have English as a second language, I've provided transcripts for every single video so that it's easier for you to follow along with or to look back on afterwards. And as I said, there's lifetime access to all the course materials. So if life gets busy, gets in the way, don't worry, it's not, time specific. Logging on from all different time zones. So you fit it in with your lifestyle. For the first 6 weeks of every intake, I am there to personally answer your questions in a closed online forum. Okay, so whilst it's not time specific, if you're able to do as much of the course within 6 weeks, you've got me there as your personal guide. And lifetime membership so that you have access to other men who also feel called to create this legacy for men and boys so that you can network with each other. You might want to co-facilitate a retreat. You might want to travel and experience connecting with each other, experiencing each other's circles, or share what worked, what didn't. This is a forum we have on the equivalent women's circle online platform that I teach. And the women continue their facilitator journey together, sharing and networking. And that's my wish for the brothers. So you also have the opportunity, if you start running public circles, to promote them. I have a directory of women's circles on my website, and I would love to have a directory of men's circles. So I have 20,000 visitors a month. That's going up all the time. So, this is a wonderful opportunity, and it's free. So take advantage of it if you decide to run men's circles. You'll also get shipped out to you in the mail a copy of my book, Creating Sacred Union Within. And this has all the male archetypes, the aspects that make up the male psyche and govern each of the main energy centers known as chakras. So this is a wonderful tool to understanding the male psyche. You'll find it very helpful personally, as well as in holding a space for men to share. And I want to make the point, a facilitator is not a teacher. You don't have to know everything in order to hold a space. Yeah, there is a magic that happens when we just allow ourselves to share transparently. You'll find that synchronistically issues come up and are mirrored by each other. So don't feel that you need to, learn everything before you start a circle. You'll get a course certificate upon completion and also accreditation as someone who's a certified facilitator trained by me to display on your website, a logo. So there's no assignments, there's no assessments, you're your own authority figure, there's no deadlines, there's no time-specific webinars, there's no pressure, no stress. And the benefits of creating this means that you'll create a vortex of community. So if you already do private sessions as a healer or a counsellor, this will create a vortex of word of mouth, a positive community around all your other services to draw men to you. It also provides genuine support for you, for other men. It helps everyone be accountable to themselves. It connects men of all generations, which is deeply healing. It meets our primal need to belong, and something we need. Why people, without having that primal need to belong met, they, will drink, will smoke, and don't even realise why. It's why when, I am somewhere like Bali, people are just happier because they have such a strong sense of community here. That primal need to belong is being met. Circle also helps you to practice speaking your truth, to practice being authentic and being transparent. It helps you to heal old wounds of competition and comparison amongst brothers. It teaches you how to share power so that you don't go into submission or dominance. And it creates a legacy of mentoring and guidance. So there's the value. This is comparative to the women's course, but it's not what I charge. Okay, again, I'm passionate about getting this out to as many men as possible, so that's what it costs. Now, if you were to do a facilitator training in anything else, whether it's group facilitation, whether it's yoga, whether it's speaker training, you're looking at thousands of dollars. Yeah, thousands of dollars. So that is, again, undervaluing it, but I can't, this is my calling, okay? It's my purpose to be disseminating this. So it is tax deductible if you start running men's circles, so you can claim it back on your tax, the full cost of the course in your annual tax. If you're already working in the wellness or holistic industry, again, you can claim this back as professional development. I am offering a special discount to those of you that are here live. You get $100 off. Jen is going to put a promotional code into your chat function in the webinar so that it's only available to those of you that showed up here live. So $100 off, that's US. And if you pay up front, so in one payment, you save another $100. So that's $200 that you save off the total course if you enroll using that promo code, okay, today. So that's the bonus. Thanks for sticking around. You have the option to also pay by installment. So you can use your promo code and still save $100. So you won't save $200 off the course, which you would if you paid up front. But if you need to stagger your payments and budget it out, again, still tax deductible, you can save $100 off. If you're watching the recording of this, you won't save with the promo code, but you can save $100 in paying upfront in one upfront payment. But if you need the payment plan, make use of it. Okay, there's either pay it off over 3 months or pay it off over 6 months. Just be mindful that it's a user pays system. So as you make your payments, you get access to the materials. So if you want access to all the materials up front, then, pay up front. And if not, you'll get 2 modules a month if you're on the 3-month plan, or 1 module a month if you're on the 6-month plan. So it doesn't have the drawbacks of a regular group facilitator training in person, where you would need to travel to attend, which then incurs additional costs like flights, hotels, and then the training's only available at set times, which you may or may not be able to do. And as I said, costs thousands of dollars, and you often lose money because you need to take time off from work. So by doing it online, you can do it from the comfort of your own home, so you'll save travel and home. Log on when it suits you, so around your other family and work commitments. It is a fraction of the cost because I don't have the same level of overheads I would if I was doing this as an international retreat. And you don't need to take time off from seeing clients if you're, a counsellor or a therapist, but you don't need to take time off from work, so there's no loss of income while you do the training. And I said, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it really insightful. Up for Q&A. Thanks to those of you that stuck around till the end. So I'll just take it off, stop screen share. There we go. So if anyone's got a question, you can just take your cursor down to the icons at the bottom of the screen, and by clicking the microphone icon where it says mute, you'll be able to remove the red bar and be able to ask me a question directly. If you don't feel to do that, you can click the chat option. All right. I need to try and pull up chat. There we go, so I can see questions. Great. So Jen has put watching the recording. You can just go to my website, themoonwoman.com. That's moon as in moon, themoonwoman.com. Any questions? Just have a sip of my water. No, I've overwhelmed you with information, perhaps.
Actually, I'd like to ask you a question. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much.
Sorry?
Oh, I might turn it up.
Oh, bless you, Rosa.
Thank you very much for today.
Thank you. Yeah, I've just got a toddler who's... Oh, thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate you coming. Yeah.
And the other...
I hear from women all the time. How can we help our men? Women that have found women's circles so transformative. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of support from women. Yeah, and thank you for being here to support this. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'd also
what did you want to say?
You referred to a book that you read 20 years ago, and I didn't quite get it.
Yes. Okay. It's called The Myth of Male Power.
Myth of Male.
Yeah. If you Google it, it'll come up. I can't remember the name of the author. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It had a dark blue cover with just white words on the front of it, and I got it at my local library. But yeah, that's so yeah, do read it. It's a good read. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So thanks for being here.
I love what you offer.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm just following my heart's guidance, so I trust it's time, and on my travels here in Bali, I keep meeting young men that are thirsty for this, so yeah, I'm so grateful to have some brothers here. Would any of you like to share anything or ask me any questions? No? All right. Well, look, I'll say thank you. Thank you for your time today. And I look forward to being of service to you if it speaks to your heart, if it resonates, and if it calls you. And yeah, if you do think of any questions, you're very, very welcome to email us. The email via Jen to me is admin, ADMIN, @themoonwoman.com. And maybe Jen, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat. Lovely. Great. Thank you. Awesome. Well, blessings on your day or your evening, wherever you are in the world. And I really appreciate you responding. Thank you, Jen.